Welcome, families, to another episode of Thriving Special Families. I'm your host, Crystal Sanford, and I'm so happy to be here with our topic today. You matter, parents, and you do matter. And our topic is learning how to care for yourself as a caregiver, part 3. I'm so happy to have my special guests here today, Talena Adams and Kanika McDougall. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
So excited to have you guys here. And parents, if you are listening or watching, we are so happy to have you here for another episode of our show. Again, if you are listening on our podcast, welcome. Please make sure to add your comments and check out our website and our YouTube page. If you are watching live, parents, welcome as well. Feel free to add your comments to the section that you have available on your computer, and we will do our best to answer those along the way. Also, I will add my disclaimer that the information that is shared here is for your informational purposes only. Please do not construe anything as advice, and please do speak with a medical or a health or a legal professional if you are in need of advice in any of those areas. So again, we are here for Thriving Special Families, and we're going to talk about caring for caregivers. And all three of us, we are special needs parents, and so we're going to do our best to have a fun and riveting conversation about this topic. So first, I will introduce my guest today. First, Talena is a mom of 2 children, ages 10 and 5. Her 5-year-old son is on the autism spectrum. Talena has been working for a large public accounting firm for the last 10 years in auditing and resource management field. She has her MBA in business administration. She's also a dance mom. She's very active with her daughter's dance studio, and she loves all things cricket, crafting, making shirts, and anything to brighten someone's day. And she enjoys running, getting outside with her family, and is beginning her new business. We also have Kanika McDougall. Kanika is the mom of 2 teenage boys on the autism spectrum. She's been working in the accounting field for 20 years with a Bachelors of Science in Management from UC San Diego. Kanika received her master's in accounting from Florida Atlantic University in 2010. And Kanika also enjoys crafting as a young girl, learning how to crochet from her grandmother. In 2019, she opened her business, Krafts by Kanika, which was created to provide personalized gifts and cards to the community. So, ladies, you guys are doing so many wonderful things, and that's why I wanted to have you here as my guest as we talk about caring for caregivers. And I'm really a big proponent of story, and I love to hear backstory, and I really want to add value and recognize the value of people's stories. So can you guys kind of briefly share for me? Let's start maybe with Kanika. What led you in the beginning as you became a special needs parent? Kind of where were you in life and how did that start for you?
So my oldest son was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and there were just a few things that the preschool teacher was talking to me about, asking me questions, and she just said, have you ever thought that maybe he's on the autism spectrum? And at the time, he's going to be 18 in just 2 short weeks.
Unbelievable.
And I know. And so at the time, I didn't really know anything about autism. 18 years ago, it wasn't like a buzzword. People that weren't familiar with it. And so I looked into it a little bit, and I was like, oh, yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does that. And so I looked into a little bit, finally got some testing at the regional center, the San Diego Regional Center, and then they did confirm that, they were like, yes, he does have some autistic traits. So they did label him as being on the spectrum. And then his younger brother is 2 years younger. He'll be 16 a week from today. And at first, they were really hard-pressed not to diagnose him. They thought a lot of his behaviors were because he was copying his brother. Right. He initially started out with having a delayed receptive speech. Mm-hmm. So we just started out with speech therapy, and we were kind of just going from there. And it wasn't until he had been in speech therapy for a little bit before the speech therapist suggested that I go to another venue to get him tested. And so that's what I did. And so he's on the spectrum as well.
Wow. So here we are so many years beyond that. And it's just amazing to have, just personally, because I know you, to have watched them grow. It's just been amazing and a beautiful thing. So Talena, tell us a little bit about your journey. You're a little more recent in your journey as a special.
Yes. So my 5-year-old was diagnosed it would have been 2019. Yes, so 2019. And his preschool were the ones that kind of just noticed a couple of things in terms of, like there was a little bit of a speech delay, but both my kids were late. My oldest was a late talker. So, I wasn't surprised by that, but I did notice just a couple of things that that just kind of piqued my antenna. And so I wasn't shocked when they had brought those things up, and then I just noticed there was just a lot of frustration for him around communication, and some of that I just assumed was because he was frustrated because he could, he was not being able to communicate so much, but after just kind of really keeping an eye on it, we talked with his teachers, and they had given us some feedback, and just had made a recommendation of us getting him tested. And so we got him tested, and they did say, speech was the first thing we tackled first. So he started that, and we literally started seeing a change in that immediately, which was great. But there was just still some things that that just the dots weren't connecting. And so we took the testing a little bit further, and then he got an official diagnosis, probably in November of 2019.
Wow, just in time for 2020.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Yeah. So he was starting kindergarten. So he's, so we went through the whole IEP, school assessment, and and it was just a journey, just in terms, because I had no idea what effect this would have on him. Some of it was like, well, he's a young 5-year-old. So I'm like, is it that he needs, another year? And just wanted to make sure we were doing all the right things by him, and not based on what we felt or any of that, but making sure we got him the support that he needed. And so I feel like we just really got that from not only the school district, but from Kaiser. And it's just made a world of difference from his speech there. I mean, it just made a world of difference. And even his kindergarten teacher that he has through his autism program at the school district, I mean, it's been a good experience thus far. So, which has been very encouraging, because I've heard some stories where it's not been that case or whichever. So
for sure. Well, that's awesome to hear that you are feeling good, feeling confident, and that the resources are being provided, and those things are working to help your son. It's awesome. Because you're right, it's not always the case. I tell parents, I work as an advocate. I'm also a special needs parent, and I work with parents when they're on the other side of that, when they're struggling with trying to access resources. And it's really great to hear that this can happen. It can work, and it can go well with your child. So moms, what we're going to talk about, really the bulk of our time together, is that care for caregivers. And we were talking a little bit off camera that it can be challenging to be a mom of a child in general, to be a mom, but then a child with unique needs, and then managing, career and all these things on top of that. And so what tips do you have for parents that are maybe struggling to prioritize themselves?
I don't know if I like the best example, but I do try to take time for myself and to be okay with things not being okay, if that makes sense. In that regard, it's me and my husband, with our kids, and I have gotten to the point where I have learned to be he's never going to do things the way I do it. He's going to have his own kind of system, and I just kind of let him go with that, whatever's working for him, and not trying to fix it and make it, nice and pretty. And I feel that allows me to take care of myself, to do some things that I like to do, rather that's, crafting or going for a run or whatever. Or if I need to work and I'm just like, okay, he said he'll take him to speech, then okay, then I don't need to be the one, to take him. And I think that's one of the things I've learned over this last year of COVID is just, it is what it is. And it's okay if it's not perfect. And also just setting some boundaries and not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that's a really big one. I love the first thing that you shared about it's okay. Things don't have to be perfect.
Right.
Sometimes we want to be super mom. We want to do it just so, and we think that our kids need it to be just so, and that's not always the case. I think COVID has taught a lot of us
Yes.
that time. There's a different norm, for what's okay and what's acceptable. But then the asking for help, really important.
Yes.
So many times we like to be the person that is giving. We're used to being in the giving position, and it's harder to be in that receiving position. But it's totally okay. And to ask for help, people want you. They'd be happy to help you if you just reach out. How about you, Kanika? What advice do you have for parents? I want to say that just knowing you in the years that I've known you, you've always been a great example of someone who balances raising their children, both children with unique needs, yet making time for yourself. So how do you do that?
So I think my biggest piece of advice would be to schedule it. It just needs to be on your schedule. I mean, I used to regularly go to Las Vegas, and I specifically chose Las Vegas for two reasons. One, because it's pretty nearby. And my second reason is I'm a big foodie, and Vegas has great food where you can get really great food any time of the day. So I didn't have to be constrained to like, oh my goodness, I got to get to this restaurant by this time. I always was able to just be like, oh, I guess I'm going to go have a really nice meal at 10 o'clock at night. Great. Bye. So that was my thing. And people were always shocked, like, you're going to Vegas like that? And I would be like, they have great, the blackout curtains. They have amazing, I'm just being honest. They have amazing spas.
Right.
The spas are great. They have a couple of outlets, and I can get a really nice meal at 10 o'clock at night where I can just be me for just me. I don't have to be anybody's sister. I don't have to be anybody's mother. I don't have to be anybody's worker. I don't have to be anybody's daughter. I can just be me. So my biggest piece of encouragement is to schedule it. Put it on your schedule. You deserve it. We're so used to just doing for other people and giving that you don't even realize that you're completely empty. Like you're on negative E, not even E, just negative E until you're about to blow up because there's a sock on the floor and you're like, and then you take a step back and you have a complete and total meltdown. And you're like, I'm not on the spectrum, but I'm having an autistic meltdown right now where I have to go take a nap. Go put myself in timeout. Like, seriously. And it doesn't have to be something big where you're gone for a couple days. Even if it is like what, Talena was saying, going for a run, clearing your head. A long time ago when I am a single parent. I've been single parenting for a long time. And when I was going through my divorce, my therapist had told me, she was like, you need to do something for you every day, even if it's go at lunchtime and go through the McDonald's go through the McDonald's line and get yourself an ice cream cone.
Yes.
Take a bath, not a shower, like a bath. Do the whole thing with the bubbles and the candles and the whole, do it. She said you need to do something for you, not for somebody else to make it better for them, but for you. And that really changed my perspective because it's almost to the point where I can recognize where I'm completely like, I'm getting on E. I have to take the time. Yeah. So it's just the balance is so hard because we can just go left, just all the. Sure. But if you put it on your calendar, it's so much more likely to happen. And it's just so much more worth it.
That's so wonderful. Such simple advice. Again, we're here with another episode of Thriving Special Families. I'm your host, Crystal Sanford, and our topic today is care for caregivers. And we're in part 3 here with sisters Talena and Kanika, and we're talking about tips for how to balance life and how to find a space to care for yourself. And, you're right on there, Kanika, with that daily spending time and for yourself on a daily basis. And I think people might ignore that. But something as simple as a McDonald's drive-through and getting yourself an ice cream and sitting for 10 minutes by yourself, like that's care.
That's good. That's a good one.
Because we've known each other now for a few years, and I can remember you have told me that sometime in the past, and I can remember being in IKEA, and so this might have been maybe 4 years ago or so, and I put my kids in that IKEA play area where, when they were old enough to be in there. And I went and got myself an ice cream, and I sat on some piece of IKEA furniture and ate that ice cream. And I thought about you. I thought about, ooh, I'm doing what Kanika said. I am taking some time for myself. And it's the simple things like that that really can help you, like you said, not to end up in a blow up mode, in a meltdown mode. It's that daily care for yourself that can help you to avoid having those bigger, blow ups, like you said. So that's really meaningful advice. So parents, as you're watching and listening here, I hope that you're taking good notes. Talena, what else have you kind of got drawn to when it comes to self-care?
I love makeup. I love all things. I love all things to do with nails, you name it. And, so any chance I can get caught up on the latest and greatest of anything makeup, trying new tips and those types of things, but that is for me is very relaxing. And so I will do, I take time out to do my nails once a week. Any chance I can get to play and make, now that things are opening up, now I feel like I can use my makeup. I never want to, I wasn't using it because I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, this is good stuff, kind of a thing. And then I think you can see from my she shed here, I love crafting. And doing anything with the Cricut. I'm really into making cards. I find this very self-help. I don't know. There's just something about making a card, cutting it out, putting it together. I don't know. So, those are a few things that I do. And then I do try to get out with my friends, just a break. And sometimes I have to force myself, to even do that, to be like, no, you're not going to cancel. No, you're going.
Right. Yes, because that happens, right? When things come up, when you've had situations, you've had your kids' IEP meeting, whatever, they've had a meltdown. It's very tempting to shut down and to withdraw and to go within. And so I like what you're saying. It's making a space. Mom needs a play date. We're so, I know as autism parents, I think we get so concerned about our kids socially. We want them to interact. We want them to practice those skills, but we need that space as well. We need that outlet as well. So I like that, getting into your hobby, finding your hobby. I remember thinking what is my hobby? What is my thing? You almost forget that, when you become a parent, you kind of put yourself again on the back burner. And so finding that hobby and for you too, you've even turned that into a business where that hobby has become a crafting business. So I applaud you for digging in and finding what brings you joy and then even turning that into a business. That's wonderful. So Kanika, what's your tip that you have for parents?
I do think that even though I am single, I'm a huge advocate for parents taking time as a couple. So I think that is really important, especially when you have a child with special needs, because, and it just becomes all encompassing. All you're doing is talking about therapy sessions and IEPs and what you need to be doing. So it's important for you to have, like Talena said, have that time with your friends, to just be a friend, and to have that time as a couple to remember you're a couple, and make it not about those children, or it's just about the two of you. Remember, and to just remember who you are.
And I think maybe taking time to talk with other parents and learn about what to expect in those different seasons. I think that can be helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always love to that I can go to Kanika because you have teenagers and I'm not there yet, so I can always, look to you as to how to navigate different situations. And so I think having a group that you can
Mhm.
go to, if it's, it could be a Facebook group, it could be a friend, maybe another parent who your kids go to therapy together or whatever, but other parents that you can kind of lean on and who get you. I think that's important, as well as having your girlfriends who you can just be yourself. Um,
Mhm.
and not talk about or think about, all the cares of life. So that's a nice balance, I think. And also, parents, I just want to remind you that our show, Thriving Special Families, is sponsored by Sanford Autism Consulting, where we offer advocacy and hope along your special needs journey. So if you're in need of IEP support, definitely give us a call at 619-403-9097, or definitely visit our website, sdautismhelp.com. So in our final time together, I'd love to maybe hear a story, a fun story, a success story of when you've been able to find a space for self-care for yourself, ladies. It
Um,
could just be a fun story of parenting a child with unique needs. I know I can think of several, but I'm going to let you guys go there.
oh, well, I can say too, is in 2019, I think before we got the diagnosis for Ethan, me and one of my best friends from college, we actually went on a girls trip, just me and her, and I was gone. I think it was a week.
Mhm. I think you were gone a week.
Yeah, I think I was gone a week. Where did I go? Punta
Dominican
Cana?
Republic. Yeah.
Dominican Republic. Okay, I couldn't even remember. Jeez, and I mean, and it was just so.
Yes.
I mean, it was just so freeing to just be on the other side of to be thousands of miles away and just be like, yeah, I'm not really gonna call you because that's gonna cost. So y'all are figuring life out.
And being okay with however he did it.
And,
Just
and I think I think she had a dance competition that weekend too, and
wow,
like I don't know, like they figured it out.
Yeah.
But I will say that's like in terms of self, like my funnest memory, because then I don't know. Then 2020 happened, and I can't even tell you what it is to travel. But I do think in terms of a success story as a special needs parent, just even chatting. My son has gone back to in-person school. He's on hybrid. They're going 2 days a week. And, to hear from his teacher that, I don't, he probably won't be with us next year. He'll probably be at the other location, which will put him in the same neighborhood with my daughter. They could they go to year round. My daughter's school's year round, and so is the other school that he potentially will be at. And so just to know that, that they've already can tell he's progressing is just really encouraging. And it's encouraging that they're not trying to keep him there, keep him there. They're definitely, he has a teacher that's definitely, she's already told me off, she's like, off the record, we have to wait for his IEP, but we're, he'll be trucking along,
great.
But so that's just, been a success. And to know that, I mean, he's just done distant learning this year. I mean, he can, he's able to control his own mouse. He can mute and unmute. He answers the questions in class. Like I'm sitting next to him, just more on a supervisory versus having to like physically be, like continuously be engaged. And to me, like that was something I was really worried about for him being on the spectrum and doing this whole distant learning thingamajig. So, so I'm just really proud and just of his resilience, just very thankful for the fact that, he's in a good spot and has people that are, in his corner.
And that's really wonderful to share. At the time of this recording, we are just a year beyond COVID beginning and shutdowns and such things. And schools are beginning to reopen at, several days a week and such. And so I know a lot of parents, for San Diego Unified, for example, here where we are, they will be reopening on April 12th. So, we're talking just about a week away. And a lot of parents are concerned about their child in regression. Parents, if you believe that your child has experienced some significant regression, then that is a space where you might want to speak with someone like an advocate at Sanford Autism Consulting, or someone who can maybe help you navigate those waters. But there are some children who are going to be okay, who actually, like you said, have been resilient enough. And I think the expectation is only so high, having had everybody at home, special needs or not. I think parents teachers are only expecting so much. But that, to see that your son he made it out okay. He made it out of COVID in a year learning at home, okay. And in a place where he could maybe even be transitioning to more inclusive environment. That's really great to hear. So I hope that gives encouragement to other families who are maybe super concerned about their child, being behind. Let's just see when they get back to school where they are, give them that time and that space. And then, if you need to make some movement, move forward afterward, but you may be surprised. So Kanika, do you have a story to share about being a special needs parent?
I think that I would have to say, both for my older son and my younger son, I was really concerned with the high school transition, and they just did an amazing job. I mean, my older son, he jumped right into every sport you could think of when he started. I mean, he did. He went from football to basketball to swim to water polo. He took a break in his sophomore year winter session, and then he was doing track when COVID hit. So, I mean, he's gearing up to do water polo starting next week again. I think they start next week. So, that was his social connection. And he did great with it. And he gained, a lot of confidence there, and it helped him learn to organize his time and to do things. And then for my younger son, for Jacob, he's just, I was concerned. I mean, the school they go to is a large school, 2,700 kids. So I was really concerned that he would just get swallowed up in the school, and not at all. Like, the first thing all the teachers always say during an IEP is like, your sons are just such great human beings. They're respectful, they are kind, they're helpful. And, Jacob is more mild, moderate. So he, but once you give him a job, if you give him a job, that boy will do it. He will do it. Like, if you give him that responsibility, he will do it. So I just have to say, overall, I'm just really proud of my sons and just how far they have come, just socially, emotionally. So I think that they're a great example to any, child who is on the spectrum or not. And just there's a lot of things that I was like, oh, I never thought they'd be able to do. Like, Jacob, when he was in elementary school, he had a one-on-one. And he went from a one-on-one dedicated person to he's navigating the high school setting, going to, 6 periods on his own. And he likes that independence. He's like, leave me alone. I can do this. I don't need you to be all in my business. So he really likes that independence. And then just as they both keep growing, I just have to stop like wanting to keep them in a bubble. Right. And let them experience.
I'm a reminder of that.
I know, but it's just, I just want them to experience things for themselves. Right. At the same time, be like, oh.
I know. Yeah. It's that mama bird. You gotta let them get out of the nest and fly, but you're still wanting to kind of hold on. But I think you found a way to really navigate that well and balance that well, because I have seen your boys grow and seen them, do such great growth and great things as they become great young men. So kudos to you and to both of you as you're doing such great work with your children as well as moms and now as business owners. So we're going to just take the last few minutes and talk about that. And if you're listening, make sure to leave a comment and let us know how you like this episode and what you'd like to hear about in our next episodes. Oh, yes. Awesome. Thank you. So we do have a guest who's saying hello. Awesome. Ladies, you both are into crafting, and so you have begun crafting businesses. And so let's just hear a little bit about that before we go. Let's go with Talena.
So I would say I'm in the more infant stages of things. I've always really been into crafting prior to having kids, and then have just recently, I think with my daughter dancing and being a dance mom, I have started falling back into the love of it. So I do a lot of costume additions for the studio for my daughter, and it's been great. Again, like I said, it's letting me use another side of my brain. It can be stressful, especially like this week is show week. But it's a different type of stress than my regular day job, which is nice. And I'm using the more creative side of my brain, which is also really nice. But it's just something, I've always enjoyed it. Again, it's another thing that relaxes me, even though at times it can frustrate me as I'm trying to figure things out, and that other thing that, and for me, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about, I think, we live in such a digital world these days, and there's just something about getting a piece of mail like a live piece of mail in the mail, where you can just brighten someone's day, rather it be a card or whatever it is, just the thinking of you. And so for me, it's just creating those things and creating those special items for those special moments and things.
Right. Well, kudos to you for getting that started and moving forward. And if parents have questions, they can definitely reach out as well. Kanika, let us know about Krafts by Kanika.
Yeah, so I do have Instagram and a Facebook page. It's the Krafts by Kanika, and it's both are spelled with a K. So the Krafts is with a K, and then Kanika. But yeah, I have been specializing mostly in cards, although for different people that I know, they'll send me a picture or something, and they'll ask me, "Hey, can you do this?" Or can you make me some shirts or a sticker? Or I've done a cake topper I actually collaborated with another a person that I know who does picnics, and so she actually was asked to do this birthday party, and so I created a custom cake topper for the birthday party. I have my Instagram and my Facebook. I have an Etsy store online. Actually, I would like to be able to do more crafting and less working so hard. Because crafting is stressful to some people, but for me, it's not. I think it's seeing the nothing of like a ball of yarn or a piece of paper turn into something that really brightens, like Talena said, somebody's day. And I just remember, like, as a kid, not that I'm old by any means, but I remember as a kid loving to get letters in the mail, and we just don't do that anymore. It's so rare.
Well, I think it's just wonderful. This kind of helps us to wrap up our time together as we've been discussing in this episode of Thriving Special Families. Our topic has been care for caregivers. And we talked about finding your hobby, going back to what are those things that bring you joy, and getting into that and scheduling time to actually engage in those hobbies and to do self-care, to do some things that are just for you, not necessarily you being a caregiver for your child with unique needs. And so both of you have found a space to get into your hobbies, and you've even turned that into a business. So that's wonderful to see that. We also talked about finding your tribe, having a group of people that you can connect with as a caregiver who understand your story and the value of that as a special needs parent, but then also having your tribe of people that you can just connect with to have fun and just to remember, that you are a person first, as well as, mom and all those other things. So great tips that you ladies have shared. I really appreciate your time today and sharing with our audience. And parents, if you have more questions, definitely for Kanika, you can find her on Instagram or Facebook at Krafts by Kanika. And then also, if you have questions, feel free to leave those in the comment section, or you can always email us at thrivingspecialfamilies@gmail.com. So again, it's just been a great time today in our episode where we're discussing care for caregivers, and we will be back next time. Parents, always remember that you're going to be okay and your child's going to be okay as well. Thanks again, ladies.
Bye.